Hello, and welcome to a special report from Critical Political Thinking. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the one thing that's going to be on all news channels this evening, and that is the first, after 64 days in office, 63 or 64 days in office, the first press conference where Joe Biden was on his own without a teleprompter. Boy, did it show. We're going to go over the questions he refused to answer by jumping to topics that weren't even related. We're going to talk about the times when he completely lost train of thought. We're going to talk about how many times he actually patted himself on the back. And then we'll talk about the very minimal issues that he actually addressed. And then we're going to talk about how those issues will basically affect America moving forward. So stay tuned for the truth behind the first Joe Biden press conference. Welcome to another episode of Critical Political Thinking. Hello, and welcome to another special episode of Critical Political Thinking. In today's episode, it's going to be a little longer than normal, but we're going to be talking about everything that Joe Biden discussed, how he discussed it, and basically what went down in the press conference today, the very first of its kind held by the Joe Biden administration. So we're going to talk about basically what has happened and what's gone on so far. His first thing he did when he came out was address all of his accolades to try and get that out of the way. He set himself some new goals that are clearly attainable because they were things that the Trump administration had already been on par to complete. Such as, being how many days in, 58 days, whatever, he already got 100 million vaccines. Well, Trump had 1.6 million in, I believe, the final day of his presidency. If you do the math, that's definitely going to be really near the 1 million, if not, well, let's put it this way, 1.6 is 1.6 million. Therefore, now that Biden comes in, he only gets another 400,000 done to get it to 2 million, and magically he calls that a feat. Sounds to me like somebody dropped the ball. But nonetheless, he went and called that one of his accolades. He's claiming he's doing everything right. Well, let's talk about what he did. Frankly, what I saw was nothing but cover-ups, manipulation, and passing the buck. Every legitimate question that a reporter asked, he didn't answer. For instance, let's take into account the one time he was asked about the recent shootings and gun control. What did he do? I want to rebuild and get good jobs. Infrastructure, enough water to run my business. What the hell did that have to do with gun violence in America? Nothing. But since he didn't have that question properly planned or recited in his mind, it was too fresh, since he's probably been practicing this for the past 50 days. Since this just happened 2 days ago, he didn't have that ready. That wasn't, I got to jump to something else. Oh, shit, they asked me that. Oh, I got to go here. That's a shame, people. That's a real goddamn shame, because that was one of the major reasons most people were looking to this press conference, to see if, number one, their rights would be taken away from them with some kind of executive order, just like Biden did for just about everything so far. It's funny he didn't mention about him canceling the border wall and now being under investigation for doing something like that. That didn't come up. Seems like the press gave him a ton of softball questions, if you ask me. And they didn't even have the opportunity to address the fact when he jumped off topic or switched the subject, because he immediately would go, okay, give me a second here. And he would just ramble until he got the next name out, so that it would look rude on that person to, speak out when somebody else was called upon. And since, it's not Trump and Jim Acosta's not there to accost him, different story. So, and it's so sad, because that was one of the things that needed to be talked about, gun control and what's going to happen in the near future. Instead, he just jumps right back into his accolades. Anytime somebody asked him a serious question or something that he didn't have a good answer to, he would constantly go back to what he already did. Well, look at what we did in COVID. That's why I'm focusing on COVID. We got to focus on COVID. That's what I'm working on. I sent Kamala down to deal with the border. That's what she does best. Her reputation at the border is atrocious. Look it up if you don't believe me. There is nothing that she has done to benefit the border. As a matter of fact, we have her on record on video quoting that the Trump administration's, the place that he built, was horrible for the youth and inhumane to put them there. Well, that's pretty goddamn funny because they used that as their model to allow the press to go into. Now, the press came out with another question regarding the border. How come we have been denied access to the border? Why have we been denied the ability to see all of the facilities? And would you make a pledge today to allow us into the facility? I'll let you in, but first we got to get everybody out. Once it's empty, then we'll let you in, is exactly what he said. So what he's stating is, I am not a transparent president. I completely screwed this up. And now, as a result, I'm not going to allow anybody to get any kind of evidence because that just shows the failure that I am. And that's exactly what happened here. Instead, he referenced Fort Bliss and that he wants to get people to go into Fort Bliss. And he's so proud of getting an army base away from the use that it's supposed to be, an army base. And instead, now we're going to pack it with migrant children that don't even belong here and decided to come to this country as a direct result of Biden's failure to communicate. Then that question was asked. Joe, I spoke with a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old who had a phone number on his arm. We called his parents, said, why did you decide to send him now? 22 days, 23 days trip, and then 23 days to that date would have been Joe Biden's presidency. So now you see that all of a sudden, these kids that made this trip did so with the understanding that it was 100% because of Joe Biden. And when he was pushed with this, he came back with the fact, no, that's not true. They came because of hurricanes. Hurricanes are the reason they're coming here and because of their country's circumstances. And as I was a senator for so many years and did absolutely nothing, mind you, except the 1994 crime bill that was detrimental to the African-American society that he claims he's right on par with. Because remember, you ain't black unless you vote Biden. But anyway, long story short, let's go back. So you have him trying to claim that he's going to fix these country's circumstances. First of all, fix our country first. Make America first. Build America back better, or whatever the hell you said, because you're failing to do that. On top of that, now you're talking about humanitarian causes when you're putting your own country's citizens at risk to benefit someone that's not even a citizen, somebody that hasn't paid taxes, somebody that hasn't benefited this country at all. And yeah, you're right. We shouldn't leave children laying down there. What we should do is hold the countries and the parents responsible for allowing their children to be alone. Even if they are in such a terrible position, then you don't bring children into this world in that position if you feel it's so detrimental that you can't allow things to continue. It's a goddamn shame what we as Americans are being forced to endure at a time when we aren't mentally fit to handle these things. They forced America into a lockdown that he's now proud of, which caused more mental health ever in the history of the American society. This lockdown caused more mental health issues than ever. You want to find the real reason behind the increase in mass shootings? Look at the fact that people were locked up and forced to be indoctrinated by the bullshit liberal media that's fed through each and every American, that everyone's a racist, everyone's a misogynist, everyone's xenophobic. Why can't we just be American and work together to fix this shit? Instead, he claims that he's the president of unity, and yet he further divides. As a matter of fact, he got so angry while he stared down the cameras. You Republican voters! Excuse me, sir. I thought you were talking about unity, and yet you single out the Republican Party and then later claim, well, I don't even think it'll be here in 4 years, let alone go against Trump. Do you think it'll be here? I don't. Do you know something we don't show? Could it be that your total agenda has been to destroy the Republican Party, including the Capitol rioters, including every single time that they speak about Donald Trump, he is now an insurrectionist, and anyone that follows him is a seditionist and a domestic terrorist? Get over yourself. We know what we are. We're good Americans, and we aren't standing for your lies and your manipulation and your bullshit anymore. And this press conference proved it. You lost your train of thought multiple times. You're in the middle of some, you know the thing. No, we don't know. And we'll never know because you can't complete a thought. It's sad. And then, he claims that he has ideas. Once we bring the kids over, then we find their parents that are here or relatives that are here. And then we ask them their pet's name to see if that's really them. Their pet's name. That is your huge genius solution to addressing whether or not these coyotes are sneaking drug mules into our country? Ask them a pet's name? You think they can't recite a code word? Are you that thick in the skull? Do you not understand how advanced things are these days? I don't think he does. He's still talking about phonographs, remember? When the kids go home and listen to the phonograph at night, even though it didn't happen in 30 years. Then he gets angry again, claiming that, voter ID is sick and the Republicans are sick for trying to implement these voting laws. You can't even have a cup of water in line. What in God's name did having a cup of water have to... That was one of the most minimal things. And it wasn't that you can't have a cup of water in line. It's that you can't receive anything in line. You're going there to vote, and that's it. You don't need to be taken care of or bribed with anything. And anything can be construed as a bribe. That's not the purpose of voting. You vote, you walk in, you walk out. If you're incapable of walking in for a really good reason, then then you can request an absentee ballot. But you better have an ID to go along with it. And that is not racist. That is not misogynist. That is not xenophobic. That is ensuring the integrity of the elections and to make sure people like Joe Biden are never elected again. And that's exactly what the reporter stated. Don't you fear you won't be elected again if these things don't go past COVID and they are forced back to the way the Constitution was actually written? No, that won't happen. That won't happen. Nope. I'll make sure it doesn't happen with executive orders is basically what he stated. Speaking of executive orders, then he went into the filibuster. At first, he was asked about the filibuster. The first thing he was asked about the filibuster and how it was for voting and promoting civil rights, the way it was worded. Then, of course, he supports it. I support that because it's for. I just heard civil rights and voting. I gotta say yes. Civil rights, yeah. Filibuster, yeah. Then, not even 10 minutes later, you have somebody state, well, did you know that the filibuster, one of the people that you admire most stated that the filibuster was in fact a relic of the Jim Crow era? Oh, yeah. No, I don't like filibuster. I don't like filibuster. But you just said you like the filibuster, sir. Yeah, well, the only time the filibuster makes sense is when people won't come to the table and negotiate with us. So you mean if we don't bow down and agree with you, then you'll implement the filibuster and screw over the Republican Party exactly like you did with your COVID bill. Is that what you're getting at? Because I'm pretty sure you let that slip too, how you were so proud of the COVID bill that went by, and then you let it slip without any Republican support, and yet I'm the president of unity and transparency. No, you're not. As a matter of fact, your transparency is so apparent that you don't have any. There were so many questions that were asked today, and not a one of those questions were answered properly. Instead, the hard questions you had to look down and read just like you would have done with a teleprompter. Why? Because you don't have the answers. You have everyone else working out everything that you're doing. And it's just sad. We have a puppet president. When he was asked the serious questions about delegations or talking with, North Korea, China, this, that. Well, I have to speak with my people and work with this. No real answers, no real solutions. Then he just went, I'm the person that sat with him the longest. And I'm the one that explained to him about democracy and Democrats. So that means he probably hates you because they don't like Democrats. That means you actually probably have a terrible relation with China. And that means we're probably screwed in the near future. You wouldn't give any solid answers on whether or not you plan to work on tariffs or build back the American economy. Instead, you just mocked it. You made it a non-convincing a claim that you know what's going on, when in fact all you did was read what your people wrote and prayed that it was something that you had an answer to or they had addressed in your little pamphlet. Briefly touched on taxes, another huge thing that you just brought out, that you're going to be taxing, and then you changed the brackets, and then Psaki had to back her speech saying that, well, now we're going to tax these people. If it's a combined, then we got to do this. You know what we got out of this speech? That you have no idea what you're doing. You clearly can't even complete sentences. That you're on some kind of a narcotic because you came out firing. You were blah, 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 and then slowly blah, blah, blah. And it's 100% evident. So there's something there. Maybe you just woke up. Maybe they planned it that way. Maybe it's not narcotics. Maybe it's something else. Whatever the case, there's something there. There's something wrong, and it needs to be addressed. And I'm not saying put Kamala in charge, because then we're even worse off. You saw that giddy laugh. Are you going to the border? Not today. No shit, Sherlock. That's not the question we asked. We asked if you're going to be addressing the crisis at the border, not laugh like a hyena because you have no answers and go back and talk to your niece that clearly thinks that whites are racists. Well done. That's your vice president, Democrats. Thank you. I don't know where we go from here at this point. I mean, we have a president that has no idea what's going on. We have a media that lies and manipulates. Let's take into example the Asian shootings. Oh my God, it's an Asian hate crime. 6 Asians were killed. Not a word about the 2 Americans, or I'm sorry, Caucasians, because they were all American. That's my fault. But the 6 Asian Americans, and then you have, well, actually they didn't confirm that they were American, but 6 Asian Americans, and then you have 2 confirmed whites killed and a Mexican shot. I don't believe he actually died. So that's what we have. And that was a hate crime because he was a white guy. Then all of a sudden, another shooting, 10 people killed. Before you have any idea, you rush to conclusions, including Kamala's niece, who said, oh my God, it was another white guy. It has to be a white guy because he walked out alive. There's no other way he got out alive if he wasn't white. Came out alive. Oh shit, he was Arab. He was from Syria. Shit. Uh-oh, we were wrong. We got to backtrack. We got to hide it. Let's go back to Asia. Let's go back to them, where we can label it as a hate crime and get some more clicks, because nobody really cares now that it's that, because Biden just bombed Syria. Perhaps there was something having to do with that. Oh, no, we can't bring up Biden. We can't make Biden look bad. Let's get out of that. Quick, run. Don't you see what's going on? They are controlling the narrative, manipulating, and even the questions that were asked of Mr. Biden were softball questions, and the ones that weren't, he didn't even answer. He didn't even address. He was asked about gun control, and he went right into good jobs. You know, like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then he's talking about homes with lead pipes, 6 out of 10 homes with lead pipes, and 20% of flights. Who gives a shit? That's not even the question he asked. Those are things you can address down the line, and that seems to be your big problem. You just want to look at the bigger picture instead of the real issues addressing our country today. You're a puppet, Joe Biden, and this press conference clearly proved it. We hope you now understand and learned a little bit more about what that press conference brought to light. My name is Corey Camasso, and this is Critical Political Thinking. We continuously bring a ton of informative news and facts and a little bit of an entertainment as well. We do this because we understand that the liberal news media has so swayed in one direction that we have to address that with the concerns of the true Americans and couple that with the facts, the truth behind what's really going on. Thank you so much for watching. Please visit our website at www.criticalpoliticalthinking.com. You can join our Critical Political Thinkers Club, get yourself a Critical Political Thinking mug, or even get yourself a Critical Political Thinking t-shirt, face mask, whole ton of great products, all free when you join and make a donation to the Critical Political Thinkers Club. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share, because we are a non-monetized channel. Clearly YouTube hates the truth. Why have it? Fortunately, we did beat the Facebook ban again. We are back on Facebook. We just keep getting banned and right back up within 2-3 days. So they can't keep back truth, people. Thank you so much for watching and supporting us right here. My name is Corey Camasso, and this is Critical Political Thinking. God bless America.